Hello and welcome to the program. I am DEJI. One of the major talking points this past week has been the whopping 37 billion naira approved by President Muhammadu Buhari for the renovation of the National Assembly. It may interest you to note that this sum is different from the 128 billion naira allocated for the National Assembly in the 2020 budget. So instead, it is included in the 2.5 trillion budgeted for capital projects by the Federal Capital Development Authority in the 2020 budget. Senate President Ahmed Lawan defended the huge sum, saying the National Assembly complex has not been renovated since 1999, and for the 20-year period, many facilities have become dilapidated. Lawan explained that the renovation will take place in two phases. The first phase, according to him, will commence in the chambers and committee rooms in the White House. Perhaps what is more worrisome about this is the fact that the country is faced with a huge debt and revenue problem. Worse still, the Senate is set to approve nearly 30 billion naira loan request by the president. As a matter of fact, it has approved that loan request. It only makes one wonder if we truly have our priorities correct. Well, joining me to discuss this is Ibrahim Zikirulai, who is the Executive Director of the Center for Human Rights and Civic Education. Comrade, thank you very much for joining us on the program. Let me start by asking you what your take is on this controversial 37 billion naira now budgeted for the renovation of the National Assembly.
Thank you, DEJI. I think my take on it is that the 37 billion naira, because it has to be given heading in the budget, that is why it is called renovation of the National Assembly. Because if you ask me, I don't see what is there in the National Assembly that needs to be renovated. I think it is a part on the back of the legislators that, for being rubber stamp in the process of approving this budget, so this is your court. So that is my take, because I don't see why at this time in our age and time we should be thinking of misappropriating our priorities.
Now, the president of the Senate has actually been defending this. He said the last time any renovation was done in that building was 20 years ago, which means in the past 20 years there's been no renovation at all. So he's actually been defending this.
Well, it is indefensible as far as I'm concerned. They can always come up with any ways to justify all those kind of humongous amount they are appropriating to themselves. For me, the last National Assembly did not cry over not renovation, if that is the issue. You and I'm sure, will have opportunity to also go into the assembly complex. We see the assembly. Is it looking like something that is begging for renovation? So for me, I said that it is like a part on the back of the legislature, being a rubber stamp. You and I was never involved.
But comrade, do you have any evidence at all to prove that it is a pat on the back for the legislature? Because approval of the budget is actually their job. So why would anybody need to pat them on the back for doing their job?
Yes, in a saner society, budget should not just be the business of executive and the legislators. There was no public hearing. A budget that is meant to order the life of Nigeria, they ought to seek the opinion of Nigeria. What are your priorities? What do we want to do? In a country that is enmeshed in debt, I don't think that is a right thing to do. 37 billion naira, if you take 1 billion naira to each of the state of the federation, plus FCT Abuja, in terms of creating jobs, we can go a long way in reducing youth unemployment in this country, and by extension, reducing insecurity in this country. So for me, it is a misappropriation by whatever definition anyone want to give to it.
Now, let's not also forget that this is just a budget. It's not as if all the monies will be released we're still not absolutely sure, of course. It's just a budget. But when it comes to actual release of funds now, it's a different thing altogether. So there's no concrete assurance that all that money would be released.
DEJI, you and I know that in the history of Nigeria, there's no budget of National Assembly that has never been released. It is only the one that is meant for the welfare of the Nigeria that has always been withheld. So, as far as I'm concerned, this money is as good as being released.
Now, could we say that indeed the National Assembly complex might need renovation, but that what is being appropriated is just way too high than what you would normally require to renovate it? So it's not as if the complex itself does not need renovation now, but that what is being appropriated for it is just way too high. I mean, on the high side.
That's what I'm saying, that in a saner society, if the people are taking into consideration, if those kind of headings are presented, people can question the rationale. Then, and we all know that in accountable democracy, that 37 billion naira can even build a new complex. And so there's no way that one can rationalize it to say that the National Assembly need renovation and whatever. So for us, at this time in our history, I think the people's welfare should be the primary aim. And that is what the President and members of the National Assembly have sworn to do as far as the Constitution is, their offices is concerned. So all this one they are doing is more of a distraction. So, and I just hope it's only that 37 billion naira, that it will not grow. There will be no amendment to the budget to say that it has 7 billion naira, it was not enough. But mind you, I must, and you can mark me, this 37 billion naira, be rest assured at the end of the day, the job will be partly or even not done, but at the same time, the money would have disappeared.
And of course, that will be quite unfortunate. And you also have to consider the fact that in the 2020 budget, what the Federal Road Maintenance Agency, FEMA, requires to fix the nation's roads is just around 36.6 billion naira. It's even less than what has been appropriated for the renovation of the National Assembly. So that gives you an idea now of just how humongous this amount is.
That is what I'm saying, DEJI, that if it is the welfare of the people is the priority, they should have known that people are dying on a daily basis on our road that are death traps. So, and then these roads needs to be fixed. And instead of focusing on all that, what we are hearing is that 37 billion naira for renovation. So it is just misplacement of priorities. There are a number of youths out there that is very, very difficult for them to eke out a living. The bag of rice today in the country, we know the cost, over 20,000 naira. People are suffering. Nigeria has been declared as poverty capital of the world, and yet the behavior of the government does not show that Nigerians are suffering. So they are not in tune with time. So they are not strategically thinking. And so all they are doing is that they act before they think.
Comrade Zikirullahi, thank you very much for joining us on the program, and thank you very much for your time. Well, we'll take a short break now, and when we come back, we'll switch over to security matters. Stay with us. On DEJI 360, we don't just ask the questions. What is wrong with amending the Constitution the way the National Assembly members have been doing it? We seek answers.
Constitution is constituent. Our problem is not lack of laws. Our problem is lack of the willpower to implement our laws.
Answers that provide clarity.
While we negotiate, we should try to make it a point that the girls must be complete.
The clarity you need to make informed judgment so that you can make the right decision and take action. People are saying it is you politicians that are responsible for this, that you are the reason why this is happening.
All these dollars that call themselves governors in this country.
I wish we had people like Tony at the National Assembly.
God forbid that I go to join that band
DEJI 360, providing clarity to issues.